a lot of the time people wait for something to actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot, like, for example, something happened to me to make me think, do I really want to be in banking anymore? Do you know what I mean? So a lot of the time, and then obviously the years build up, and then before you know it, you wanted to do something 5 years ago, and it's 5 years later, and you've still not done it. Obviously, don't wait for something to happen. If you want something, just go for it.
That's Chris Lampitt, up next on the All Things Risk podcast. Welcome back, and welcome to the All Things Risk podcast. I'm Ben Catania, your host. This is my show where we go long form using the lenses of risk and uncertainty to understand ourselves and our world just a little bit better. Now, I know, I'm well aware that it's been a while. It's been over 4 weeks since our last episode, but we're back on track. And we start with today's conversation, which is all about purpose, loss, wellness, and entrepreneurship. My guest is Chris Lampitt. Chris is a London-based entrepreneur who started his career in banking until an incident occurred that caused him to question both his health, his physical and mental health, as well as his sense of purpose. And since then, he's dedicated himself to health and wellness and has made a career out of that and has combined his background in banking and in wellness. And last year, he decided to start his own company, Fit 2020, which is all about bringing health benefits to the workplace. And if you've listened to some of our past episodes, you know that many of our past guests have emphasized the connection between resilience in the midst of uncertainty, which we're all experiencing right now, and well-being. On top of this, Chris has recently launched an initiative that combines his passion and his experience to help the National Health Service, or the NHS, in the UK, which of course has been very busy and very strained under the pressures of COVID-19. Chris shares all of this on the show, which I'm sure you will find interesting. So let's get into it. Here is Chris Lampitt. Chris, welcome to the All Things Risk podcast. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
I usually start these conversations with a question that I hate, which is, what do you do? And I hate that question because, you know, we're more than what we do, right? It's a difficult question to answer, but it's just a reflection of our times. But over to you, get a little picture of who you are.
Yeah, I think that's a better way of putting it, to be fair. What the kind of person I think I am. So if I give you a bit of a background to me, so I've got a 12-year, 14-year background in banking all over London. So I did the usual thing when I left college. I think that's uni, and I followed my friends and my mum in the background of going into banking. So I went through to quite a few jobs, made redundant a few times, quite a few of the big banks in London, was a temp a lot of the time as well. So during my time through banking, not overly happy with what I'm doing, but quite happy with the wage, you know what I mean? So kind of working for the money rather than working for the actual satisfaction of the job. So during my time through banking, a close family member to me became quite ill. So at the time, I thought to myself, it made me try and think about my career, about what I want to do, because it kind of made you think, is life short? Do you know what I mean? So I thought to myself, at the time, I had a football and coaching badge. I love football. And the thought of teaching kids how to play football, or teaching maybe the future star of England to play football, I thought that is something I'd love to do. So I took a coaching badge while I was in banking. And then obviously when that unfortunate incident happened, I thought to myself, well, maybe I want to do something else. So I went on Google like everyone else does, Google footballing jobs, Google all these other jobs. And to my surprise, a footballing job didn't come up, or a coaching job didn't come up, but a job or a nutritional company came up. So the nutritional company was a multi-level marketing nutritional company. So I thought to myself, how on earth has this come up? So I looked into it, looked into the company. I thought, okay. So I thought to myself, because of the relative becoming ill, start to educate myself on nutrition and learning about the correct things to eat. Maybe going through this company or learning about this company or seeing what they do could help me learn a bit more. So at the time, like everyone does, they think they're eating healthy, they think they're great at everything. So at the time, I thought, okay, I looked into the company. So I joined the company at the time. It learned me about eating better, exercising more, because obviously with a banking job or a banking career, you're majority of the time you're stuck to your desk, stuck at your desk. So I did that for a while, earned a bit of extra money while working in banking. I thought, okay, this is okay. I always thought to myself that maybe people could see my body shape was changing, my energy, my health was all changing, my actual knowledge was changing, not through the company, but my knowledge was more changing through the fact that I wanted to learn more about nutrition. So I was always looking up about it and helping that particular family member to eat well and to learn about how their body works and inflammation and all this other kind of stuff. So while doing this, I earned a bit of extra money. I lost my job a few times through being a temp. At the time, the economy wasn't very good. So I thought to myself, why don't I try and do this full time to live my job? See, the wage and the income didn't match what I earn in banking. I thought I could try and make a go of it. So to cut a long story short, I went through a few companies. It didn't quite work. But throughout these companies, I met a lot of people that are really interested in health and nutrition, people from all over the world. And I love the fact, I suppose for me, the fact was that I'm an outgoing person. And although I love the banking wage, I always felt like I was stuck inside like 12 hours going home. So it kind of, I thought to myself, maybe this is something I want to do. Maybe I want to be an entrepreneur, or maybe I don't want to work in a building or stuck to a company, and I want to work my own hours. So throughout this experience, I met a few people, and one particular person I met, so I went through a few companies, I met a particular person, and he introduced me to a company where I can sell insurance as a self-employed person, and I could also, my background in banking or the financial industry could also do that as well. So I joined, I'm a self-employed insurance broker for a company called Vitality. So I've done this for 5 years now. During this time, obviously my friend introduced me to it. Over the last 2 years, the friend that introduced me to this actually took his own life. So obviously that hit me quite hard as well, because the actual career that I was starting to do and enjoy was down to him introducing me to it. But he took his own life, which is quite tough. So over the course of this, for the last 2 years, obviously I'm doing something I love, but I'm doing it because of this person. So this is where I decided to obviously learn more and wanted to help more companies about the physical and mental health of their staff. And this person his name's Wayne, who got me into this, was the most bubbly, outgoing character that you'll ever meet. You would have never have guessed, always confident, always upbeat, and you would never have guessed that he would have obviously taken his own life. So this is where back in October last year, 2019, I decided I wanted to do something more for companies and for people. So this is why I created my own company called FITT, F-I-T-T 2020. I didn't do 2020 for the year. I didn't do 2020 for the vision. But I didn't think of that 2 months before 2020 came in.
Yeah, 2020 may not be remembered very fondly as a year. Given
I was going to say, but I'm hoping my company will, or my new company or brand will help change that.
Or maybe not. You can change the narrative a little bit, because you said a lot of really interesting things just now about, health, and maybe when you were in banking, and I see this myself in working in the corporate space, is people don't really think about their health, mental and physical. And we kind of, in big organizations, assume that what happens from the neck up is all that matters. And people just kind of, they're a little bit like robots or like computers, and we, just kind of crack on with things. But actually, we're all in some ways athletes, and that we have to take care of what we put into our bodies in terms of food, how much rest we get, and also our mental health in order to be able to perform. And I imagine that in the banking world, what you saw and what you went through, and I think what a lot of people who are listening to this go through, is we suffer because we're not really integrating those two things, the health and wellness part, and how we perform whatever task we have.
I think it's more apparent now that companies, especially now with what's going on in the world, I think it's more apparent now rather than when I was in it like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I think it's more people and business owners, not only like banks, but even small business owners, are thinking more about their staff and their health and their well-being now. I think it's more apparent now than it has been for the last 4 or 5 years. I think companies are looking out for it more now.
I'm so sorry to hear about your friend, and that's a tragedy. I think we need to talk about this stuff a lot more, because a lot of people do suffer in silence, and the way in which we work, it's changing, but I think it's not there yet, and we're only starting to scratch the surface of this.
I mean, I think that's part of the reason why I started my own company.
Yeah.
Because the company that I have started, or I'm looking to start, is I'm trying to make it more apparent in the workplace. So, for example, the company that I actually do the insurance for, Vitality, they actually offer health and wellbeing aspects to the insurance. So what I've tried to do with my new company is I've tried to add more health and wellbeing aspects to the company. So what I'm trying to do is add more benefits, health and wellbeing benefits, and then from the profits that I make from that is to send stuff like physiotherapists or mental health coaches to the companies.
Could you just talk a little bit about Fit 2020? Like, who do you work for, and what's the vision? And when you say the companies that you are, these insurance companies that are primarily the clients, or?
Yeah, so basically I sell insurance for Vitality as a self-employed insurance broker. Fit 2020 is my company. So what I'm trying to do with it is I'm trying to get more partners. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do like the taste card of the fitness industry. So if a company doesn't want Vitality insurance or death in service or private medical insurance for their staff, they've got something as a cheaper alternative.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get like 20 partners. So I've got like an epigenetic testing company, I've got an eco sportswear friendly company, I've got a meal prep company. So all the partners I'm trying to add to Fit 2020 are going to be health related. So it's going to be like a gold, silver, bronze package. The company offer them to their staff, and then from the profits I make out of it, I'm going to reinvest that into the company or the business to give them like a mental health coach once a week, or a physiotherapist or a PT once a week. So I'm going to actually use the profits from that to help the health and well-being in a workplace, because that's obviously, I didn't have that when I was in banking, and my friend obviously suffered from mental health. Yeah,
that makes sense. Could you maybe could we talk about some of the things? So you talked a few things, physiotherapy, mental health coach, a range of things. When you think about wellness, what does that mean? What does that encompass? Because there's obviously there's a multifaceted suite of things that you built your company around. So I'm just curious as to what are the different elements, and how did you arrive at those? And
so I suppose what constitutes wellness is physical and mental. So for me, obviously I go to the gym a lot, I do a lot of physical and stuff, but for me I also do a lot of self-development as well. So for me it's like a lot of listening to self-development tapes. I do a lot of yoga. So for me, what I want to do is I want to try and get that more in a workplace where staff are not only mentally, but they're also physically fit as well. Because obviously we know that if someone's mentally and physically fit, they're less likely to have time off work and be more productive. And obviously, if a company have got staff that are happy, then they're less likely to go elsewhere as well. So I'm trying to make it a whole well-being package where company benefits and the staff members benefit as well. Everyone's happy, I suppose, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. And how would you describe a good wellness program, or if somebody's listening to this and either thinking about for themselves or for their organization, like how would they understand where they are versus, what perhaps ought to consider that they might not be thinking about now in terms of wellness?
So I suppose if we do it on an individual basis, obviously people have different thoughts about their weight, their physical, their mental health. So what I would say is that what I'd probably advise people is to write down what they want personally, because obviously everyone's different. So obviously if you're in a company and they're trying to incorporate something, they don't know exactly what you want. But on an individual basis, I would write down what you want, not only physical in your physical self, but also with your relationship goals, your career goals. They say the power of writing things down or having a vision board and seeing things is very powerful. I mean, I can offer advice on how maybe you can help with your nutrition, etc., and all that kind of stuff. But it all depends on what the individual wants. What I've learned over the last few years is that you have to actually go for what you want. Even if you're, like, for example, if you want to own your own business or go or do something extra, if you have to do, say, a job while you're doing it. But what I would say is people need to really think about what they want and maybe just write down what they want and then find the ways to get to what they want, because a lot of the time people wait for something to actually happen. Mm-hmm. So a lot, like, for example, something happened to me to make me think, do I really want to be in banking anymore? Do you know what I mean? So a lot of the time, and then obviously the years build up, and then before you know it, you wanted to do something 5 years ago and it's 5 years later and you've still not done it. Obviously, don't wait for something to happen. If you want something, just go for it. Within reason, obviously.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, you can take incremental steps. I mean, you don't have to quit your job and without a plan, but people can start moving in the direction that they want to go. Okay, well, we talked a little bit about talking about wellness. You talked about sense of purpose, relationships. What are some of the other things that you think are important? People should check in with themselves around their wellness.
Wellness. So obviously, physical, mental health. What I would say is gratification as well. What I do every morning is I say the things that I'm thankful for, because obviously in a world where praise is a little bit less than being criticised, and obviously a lot of the time people have got goals and want to do things but don't quite get there. What we've got to appreciate is that a lot of us probably a lot of the listeners and a lot of us have got more than a lot of other people around the world. So I think to be grateful for what you do have, and then obviously to go for your goals as well, so you can achieve more, I suppose. But self-gratification, taking time out for yourself as well. Busy lifestyles. Obviously, when I was in banking before, working 10-hour days, 12-hour days, going home when it was dark in the winter, waking up when it was dark. I think people need to, if they find something they love as well, taking the time out to do that maybe once a week if it's not too long, or taking time out with your family. I think family and taking time out for yourself are massive, because obviously family, you don't know how long. I don't want to be grim, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Just curious about the decision to set up this company, Fit 2020. Do you arrive at that in a particular moment, or did you just kind of slowly build up to that, or was it trial and error, or how did that come about?
Well, to be fair, I've been doing a lot of business coaching, but I suppose for me, I've always had a passion in health and wellbeing, and I've always had my background in banking and in the financial industry. So obviously, with the events that have happened that I've already explained, I've always wanted to be my own business owner, but I've always wanted to incorporate the two things that I do, or the passions that I have. So it just came about last year, really, and since then I've progressed it to, because what I always used to do is I always used to give free information away. My Facebook, my Instagram, everything used to be health related. Like, so a lot got to the fact that a lot of my close friends actually thought I was a personal trainer because I was giving so much information. It's kind of like, well, I'm not actually a personal trainer. So how can I incorporate it and pull it in a business where I can actually help others more or help educate people more? So within this, I've started to do like ebooks of inflammation, omegas, all this other kind of stuff. So I'm trying to put it into like booklets as well, and free booklets and downloads and PDFs, just so I can help people more as well with just stuff they can read at any old time. Back in, obviously, with COVID-19 as well, I've come up with an initiative basically to help raise money for the NHS.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that.
Obviously, I love football and sports, etc. So I got inspired by Jordan Henderson, who basically got footballers to donate a portion of their money of what they earn to the NHS. So I don't know, must have equaled millions, thousands. And also got inspired by Prince William, who was talking about mental health. I just was watching a match of the day once, and he was talking to a few footballers about mental health, and they was explaining how they suffered from mental health problems, but didn't really discuss it at the time because it wasn't okay for a footballer who's earning X amount of money to have mental health problems. So I came up with an initiative. I basically said, what can I do that I can help the NHS with, because obviously I don't earn a footballer's wage. So I've come up with an initiative basically, which was targeting footballers and athletes and famous people, where I give them a insurance product which leaves their family £7.2 million, but it also doesn't cost. It costs them very little over the course of the term of the insurance policy. I think £2,000 a month for X amount of years, etc. And out of that, I will give a portion of what I earn, a large portion of what I earn, to the NHS. Alongside that, I would give the NHS two partners from my fitness company, Fit 2020. So at the money I actually make, I would give a large portion to the NHS, and a lot more of the profits I would send healthy meals to the NHS, because obviously they're doing long hours, and I would give them access to my fitness app, a partner fitness app, which gives them mental health and wellbeing, yoga, because obviously they're in a stressful time. I've also done something similar. So I did that, and I've got something similar with an investment product where instead of insurance, it's investment. Mm-hmm. So it works exactly the same way. I give them a large portion of what I would have earned in commission, and obviously the donations go to the NHS and the players and a mental health charity. So what I've also done, I've targeted the NHS hospital. There's like a foundation or with all the NHS staff. What I've also done is, because I know the importance of insurance, especially with the job that they're doing, I've offered them a 35% off my commission on all life and health policies. Because for me, it's not about, well, obviously I do want to earn a living, but it's not about the money. It's about the NHS, who are saving people's lives in the UK, putting their own lives at risk, actually being insured themselves. So if something happened to them, that they won't be homeless or have no job, or do you know what I mean, or go hungry. So there are three initiatives really. So one's with an investment and insurance to target footballers or famous people, celebrities, which over the course of 4 years could raise up to £2 million for the NHS for the insurance. The investment one would raise more over 4 years. And the other one is to give the NHS staff 35% off all insurance policies off my commission. So
right.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help the NHS and build a revenue for them.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so the first one is, these are like insurance policies that if you're a famous footballer or whatever, a celebrity, you'd be possibly interested in buying. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. So how it works is, for the average 29-year-old, they can leave their family £7.2 million, and it'll only cost them £2,000 a month. Okay.
Yeah. Which to a footballer is, they make it in 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what. So obviously for me, it gives me a higher end client, but I also managed to make a difference.
Yeah.
Similar with the investment one is that it's a footballer puts in £1 million and they get like 20%. I've got an invite-only opportunity where they get 20% return. And obviously out of my commission, I would have paid it to the NHS.
Okay, cool. And how's that being received? How's the market responded so far?
Well, what I've done is I found a website that basically you pay £6 to, and you can do like 300 searches. Mm-hmm. So you type in anyone's name, and it gives you their PR company, their agent. It gives you everything. Yeah. So all I've done is, I don't know if I should say this on air, all I've done is I've done the 300 searches, paid the £6, and then used a different bank card, and then used a different bank card.
Okay.
I've got like a list of them.
Yeah.
List of them. So what I've done so far is I've called them. They've all been very open to it. I've sent them an email with like a structured PDF document, and so far I've got a lot of positive responses, but then just saying it's not for them as of yet. Some of the responses I have got are that so-and-so has his own charity or have their own charity. So what I've tried to do is say I'm giving X percent to the NHS staff fund, X percent to the NHS, and then the other percentage will go to if that person has a charity themselves.
Yeah.
Because if someone's got a personal charity, then they may not want to donate to another charity or get. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, I wish you all the best with that, and it sounds like a great initiative and great idea. How did you come up with it?
Well, lockdown basically got me sitting indoors. So lockdown, yeah. So I'm terrible. I have to be out and about. So lockdown, I was just sitting there, obviously reading the news, which I don't often read, to be fair, because it's quite negative. But I was reading the news, and then I was just looking at it, and then I thought, hang on, how can I? Because I do this business course, I pay for a business mentor every month. What can I do with what I do to make a difference? So I've tried to use what I generally do like on a day-to-day basis to make a difference. Rather, because I suppose what Jordan Henderson did was he just asked footballers to just give away their money and they get nothing for it. Mm-hmm. Whereas I'm actually trying to give the footballer or famous person something for them giving away their money. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my whiteboard's full of ideas.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's interesting to think about that sort of idea of giving back, which, a lot of people do, or a lot of famous people do. There's the idea of, how you do business or how you make decisions and whether or not those are sustainable. And because companies can make a shit ton of money doing all kinds of unethical things, and then I'll give a little token to some charity, as opposed to if I make these types of decisions on a regular basis, then maybe I just should also incorporate some other considerations when I do that. I imagine that a lot of the people you're dealing with, they do it all through whoever their agencies are, managers are. But if you can kind of get into the heads of the market, then it could have a very good effect. Yeah, I mean, I've been also contacting people on LinkedIn, famous people that are actually on there. I think for me, throughout the whole of this, is like, obviously I've got this that I want to give to the NHS. I've got my Fit 2020, which I want to try and raise health and awareness in the workplace, but give back some of my profits to help mental health in the workplace by PTs, etc. So I hopefully people can see that I'm trying to give something back rather than just taking everything. My whole concept around everything is trying to help people, and especially mental health. You've got to appreciate the NHS. I mean, I'm actually in a Facebook group for NHS staff. Okay. It's got 22,000 people in, and my initial thought was to give the money to the NHS, but my thought's more give it to like an NHS staff fund, because a lot of people in there are actually struggling to live. Mm. You don't actually realise that. I mean, I don't know how much a nurse gets paid, but some of them are actually struggling to actually live in general. So that's partly where I got the 35% off the commission as well, off the insurance. So yeah, if you're a nurse in a place like London, good luck living, having a decent living on a nurse's wage. It's really, I can imagine it's very tough.
Yeah, it seems that it is. So, yeah.
And I think a lot of what the COVID-19 situation's brought out is how valuable frontline workers are, not just health workers, but the people that stock the shelves at supermarkets and that drive delivery vehicles and all of that stuff. In addition to obviously the NHS staff who, as you say, put their lives on the line. And I think that's given us, or should give us, some pause around how we value society, which is also really interesting in the sense of you've got, well, not to have a go at footballers, but they make a lot of money, and the market's there for that. But it's just an interesting perspective on that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, if anything, COVID-19 has taught us as business owners how to potentially look at different ways to do our own business, but it's also made us fully appreciate the NHS.
Yeah.
And all other type of workers that have had to put their lives on the line consistently to feed us and to look after us. So COVID-19, I mean, hopefully when this is over, the NHS will be even more valued than what it is, and hopefully somehow get some form of a pay rise or something, because what they do continuously is unbelievable.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I do think that there's scope, and sometimes it's easy to get pessimistic about what's going on in the news, but I think there's scope and opportunity to reframe how we run businesses, reframe capitalism. I think you're part of that. What you're talking about is part of that, and that it's not this sort of separate thing of you make a shit ton of money doing something that maybe isn't the greatest thing for the planet, versus actually part of the mission is to do the right thing and also make money. It's something that I think we desperately need, and we're sort of slowly getting there, but we're not there yet. So I think what you're doing is very valuable in that regard, in terms of moving the bar, because more businesses need to think like that.
Thank you.
So what's your broader vision for Fit 2020, or maybe just in terms of the work that you're doing? How would you like to see things in, say, 5 years, 10 years? My
ideal situation for Fit 2020 to be in businesses with the product that I'm trying to produce, and to make health and well-being, mental health well-being and physical health well-being more relevant and more aware in companies. Obviously, I want the brand to be as big as possible. I mean, what I'm currently doing is I'm currently sponsoring a few things, like grassroots football teams as well. How I want my brand to be is just to have made a difference to people's lives in the workplace, mentally and physically. In
terms of either your own work that you do and how you go about making decisions, I'm just wondering if you had anything that you've learned around decision making and taking risks and uncertainty that might be of interest to my listeners as well.
Well, I suppose one of the massive risks I have taken is starting my own business.
Yeah.
I've never done it before, and the stresses I had to start with a name, a logo, a website, even that kind of stuff. But I actually thrive on it now, because whereas I've been in banking before and I've had to take orders and not really think about what I'm doing, it's more now the fact that I have to think about what I'm doing, how I move my business forward, and how I can drive the message I want to people. So I suppose the major risk was starting my business and having to finance it myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't change it, because I've got a mission that I want to achieve. A, from my friend, and B, because of my background and what's happened to me in banking.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. So I keep going back to this idea of having a sense of purpose and meaning, because I think that helps. I don't know if you find that going back to, why you're doing this is helpful in those periods of uncertainty and fear. And
yeah, I mean, obviously I've explained the reason why I've kind of started my business, or what the reason why I've started, or the kind of journey I've chosen or gone down. And obviously in the times where it has been difficult, I know I've only been doing this for 10 months, or my new business for 10 months, at the same time selling insurance. But yeah, it's those times when you think about the reason why you started the business in the first place, and you have a why as well. If someone's listening to this and thinking of starting their own business, at times when they are struggling, or if they've already just started their own business, at times when they're struggling, if they just think about the why they've done it, or how they started, or why they wanted to start it, or who they're doing it for, if they've got a child or a grandchild or something like that, then I think that kind of pushes them on. If you add that to a vision board or an ideas board or anything like that, then it will always help you through. And what I would say is that if you've got family around you that can support you as well when you're down, or if you can join, what I would say is you can join a networking group, either online or near you. That massively helps as well, if you have other entrepreneurs and business owners that can help to push you through as well, and help you with ideas and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think really important. I don't know about mental health and entrepreneurship. Well, I guess I do know a little bit. I mean, I run this podcast and I could work forever on it if I wanted to, right? There's so many things, there's so many ideas, there's so many suggestions, there's so many things that you can do. And I think any entrepreneur, you've got full control, which is great, but you could also work forever. And I think that can also take its toll, right? So having those, I don't know how you deal with it or how you think about it, but I think there's a lot to be said for being very conscious of wellness, especially if someone's an entrepreneur or thinking about it. So I'm just curious how you approach that.
Well, for me, I've given myself a fitness target every single day. Mm-hmm. So I give myself 13,000, not 30, 13,000 steps. Mm-hmm. So that gets me out as well. Gets me the fresh air, gets my mind off whatever's going on. I try to leave my phone at home. Because obviously I like to listen to podcasts and etc. on my headphones, so it's not always possible. But I think the best thing to do is to plan the day as well. So you can get up early, plan the day, do a little calendar for the week. But physical fitness and mental fitness, that's how I deal with it. I get up early, drink my water, go for a walk, and then I'm ready to start the day. Whereas normally I would start a day at 9 o'clock if I was working in a job. So I'd get up earlier to do that, or I'd go to the gym when they're open. And I don't listen to the news first thing, because I want to get my mind in the right frame of mind first thing.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right. We've covered a lot of ground. Was there anything that you wanted to mention or discuss that you don't think we got a chance to yet?
No, I think we've covered everything. I've obviously explained my businesses and my passion. So yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Cool. Before we wrap up, you mentioned a few things. You mentioned your business, but you also mentioned an app as well. And you mentioned you've got an Instagram account. And so where can people find all of that good stuff, follow you,
so obviously, my Instagram's FITT2020. I've got a Facebook page as well, the same name, and a Twitter. If people want to connect with me, I'm on Chris Lampitt, LAMPITT on LinkedIn. So yeah, if anyone wants to connect with me, wants any ideas, they feel free to. If they want any health advice, I'll do my best to help.
Cool.
And any podcasts, anything like that.
Cool. Chris, brilliant. Thank you very much for joining me. This was a lot of fun, very interesting. And keep doing what you're doing. It sounds like you're on a great path. So I wish you all the best.
Cheers. Thank you.
All right. I hope you found that valuable. For me, one of the key messages I took away from the conversation with Chris is don't wait. Take steps, however small or incremental. Of course, we are not advocating recklessness here, towards the things that you want to do. Of course, that presupposes your purpose is dialed in, which takes some work, but perhaps that's a focus of another conversation. Nonetheless, check out Chris, check out Fit 2020. That is it for this episode. As I mentioned at the outset, we will be back soon. Our next episode will go out in just over a week. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Until then, and as always, don't forget, risk is life.